Good morning, students. This is Miss Brown speaking. Today we're going to be talking about invertebrates. Now, this is something that you guys have been reading about for the past week, but this is going to be your notes for your book. So, what are invertebrates? Well, as you guys have already talked about, they are spineless. And no, I don't mean spineless as in they are afraid of everything. They have no backbone. So, if you feel the bumps in the middle of your back, that is your backbone. That's your spine. It's made up of vertebrae. Animals that have vertebrae, animals that have a spine, and they're called vertebrates. You, me, Selena, Magnus, your cats and dogs at home. All right, fish, birds, reptiles, amphibians, mammals, those are all vertebrates. This week, though, we're focusing on the ones without a backbone, the invertebrates. Now, something important to know, students, is that most animals are invertebrates. Most animals do not have a spine. Now, that might seem a little weird to you, but when you see what kind of invertebrates there are, you will understand. So, some things you need to know about invertebrates. All right, they all have no spine, but they also have some other things in common. So, all invertebrates have the following: more than one cell. That means cells are the tiny little basic building blocks of living things. So that means that they're made up of more than one of these tiny little building blocks. All right? They all move. They also need oxygen and they also need some kind of food. And most importantly, this is the reason why it's C for cold-blooded. All invertebrates are cold-blooded. That means they can't make their own body heat. Like your body makes its own body heat. All right, that's why your body temperature stays about the same when you go outside, whether it's 90 degrees outside or 30 degrees outside. Invertebrates can't. Because they're cold-blooded, that means that their body temperature depends on how warm it is outside. So if it's warm outside, they're warm. If it's cold outside, they're cold, to the point where they might not be even able to move because they're too cold. All right? Now, when we talk about invertebrates, you can't just talk about all of them at the same time, because even though they have some things that's the same, they also have some things that are different too. All right, some of them can be really, really small. Some are really, really big. Some eat each other. Some eat plants. Some fly. Some swim. Some crawl. You can't say that they're all the same other than a couple of things. So when scientists want to study them, they classify or they group them by ways that they're in common, things they have in common. And then so they take a big group of things, then they'll split it in half, and then they'll look at that half, see what things are special for half the group, split it in half again, and they keep going like that. So there are 6 groups of invertebrates that we are going to talk about. All right? So don't think that this covers everything, but these are the 6 groups we're going to talk about. There are 6 groups of invertebrates for us to talk about. So number 1 is going to be the first group, porphyrians. Those are the sponges. All right, and the one thing I want you to know about sponges is they take in food through pores. That's where they got their scientific name, porifia, or porifians. I'm going to stop there for a second. Probably should have stopped here, but I'm going to pause for a second, make sure you got all this. All right, I'm going to assume that you paused if needed. We're going to move on to the next group. Group 2. Oops, there we go. The Cnidarians. C is silent. And if you cannot pronounce or spell these words, that is okay. You will not have to spell the names on the test. If they're on the test, they will be given to you. So I am not expecting you to memorize these spellings. Alright, that would just be too mean. Alright. So, this is the group that have stinging tentacles. This includes sea jellies, coral, and sea anemones. Oops, I don't know why that's bolded. So this is the group that have stinging tentacles. Has anyone ever been near a jellyfish before? Well, for those of you that have ever been stung by one, you know that it hurts. And yes, Ms. Brown has been stung by a jellyfish before. It was only a little baby one. So, um, if we're still not 100% sure I was stung by one. I may have been stung by one on a Girl Scout trip. It does hurt. But, what I wanted to mention, yes. They are not, even though we call them jellyfish, they're not really fish. Alright? Because fish are vertebrates. Fish have a spine. So, sea jellies, jellyfish, are really not fish. That's why instead they're called sea jellies in your textbook or in your reading. And they're shaped like umbrellas. They also don't have brains like we do. They have nerves, but they don't have brains. Alright, so their body processes things differently than we do. Alright, but the one thing I really want to mention for you to know about this group is that they have stinging tentacles. Alright? Coral reef in very famous, the Great Barrier Reef, coral reef in Australia. I will show you a picture of it. In fact, I'll take a moment to pause here and show you a picture of it. But it's just, yeah, this is something I'll explain in class when you can actually see the photos. So, giving you a chance to pause. Moving on. Echinoderms. This is sea urchins, sea stars, sand dollars. I said you do not have to know how to pronounce these bolded terms. All right. So, they're ocean. This group. They live in the ocean. Rough skin. All right. They even have tiny feet that help them crawl. All right. Sand dollars. They kind of look like almost like a flat pancake type thing. Sea urchins look like pincushions with spikes. All right. Starfish. Once again, starfish are not real fish, so that's why they call them sea stars instead in your textbook. All right. Sea stars actually eat clams. They use their arms to open them, and they can also grow back arms that were lost. They usually live in tide pools. All right. The next group is the mollusks, which includes the octopus, squids, snails, and clams. All right. They usually have a strong body. All right. So I'm going to pause for a second, let you copy this down. All right. Now, the mollusk that you're probably most familiar with is the octopus. 8 arms. They catch fish and shrimp. They're pretty smart. They also can swim very fast by shooting water out of their body. All right. If I was to review any section, I would probably look at the octopus, because on your test on Friday, you might have some questions specifically about the octopus. Just giving you a general hint. All right? And yes, you'll be able to use your textbook on the test, or your book on the test. Next one. We have the Aeneids. Annelids. Sorry, the annelids. This is just one type of worm group. There's actually more. Specifically, earthworms. All right. Earthworms also, sorry, beach. Oops, I'm sorry, I spelled that wrong. Leeches. Worms, they dig through the ground, they eat dirt. They make holes. Gardeners love them because it gets air into the soil, which makes those plants grow. That's also why you'll see earthworms coming up out of the soil when it rains, because their holes that they make get filled up with water, so they have to come up to the surface, because remember, they need oxygen. Leeches attach themselves to animals and feed on blood, kind of like ticks. Fun fact for you, they actually used to be used in medicine way back in medieval times. More you know. Okay. Arthropods. This is the group that you should study the most. All right, your notes are already getting kind of long, so I'm not going to have you write down everything about them. All right. But for this group here and the arthropods, I would just reread the section and make sure that you understand them. And I will give you time at the end to reread that part and ask any questions that you have, because these are the ones that you will probably have a lot more questions on compared to some of the others. All right. So arthropods include insects, spiders, lobsters, millipedes. Okay, out of these are the two that you're going to want to look at the most. All right, I will spare you from having to write down everything about them right now, because already your notes are getting kind of long. So instead, I'm just going to tell you that you need to review these sections. You need to know, and for those of you that are interested in writing down, insects have 3 body parts, 2 antennas, 6 legs. Most animals, and this one you do need to write down. Most animals on the earth are insects. All right, insects come from eggs. They change their body. Their body changes shape during their lifetime. All right, a lot of them are pollinators. They help pollinate the plants, which helps them grow. All right. You're going to want to know what an arachnid is. That's spiders, ticks, mites, and scorpions. All right. Spiders have 8 legs, 2 body parts. They make webs. All right, and then we also have, and this is going to be the last of your notes, the last one, is the crustaceans. This group you don't have to worry about as much as the others. All right, crustaceans are arthropods that have pairs of walking legs. Many of them live in water, like crabs, lobsters, crayfish, shrimp. And then, And then just know that millipedes are kind of look like worms with legs. Centipedes also look like um, worms with legs, but they also have little claws that they use to poison their food, so they can kill their food. Okay. So at this point, if you have any questions, if you need to, I will go back, pause the video. I didn't leave in my normal pausing points like I did for the last one, but I will be the one showing you this video. So there should be no issue with the pausing, but just in case, I'm going to go back up and I'll just reread it. Invertebrates. They are spineless. They have no backbone. Most animals are invertebrates. All invertebrates, more than one cell, need oxygen, food, and are cold-blooded. There are 6 groups that we are concerned about of invertebrates. The Porphyrians are the sponge. They take in food through their pores. The Nidarians are the sea jellies. Corals and sea anemones, they have stinging tentacles. Ectoderms, the sea urchins, the sea stars, and the sand dollars. All live in ocean or water, and they have rough skin. Mollusks include octopus, squids, snails, and clams, and I would know some information about the octopus for your test. And annelids, worms, earthworms, leeches. All right. It would be good to know for earthworms that they dig holes and eat dirt. Arthropods are insects, spiders, lobsters, millipedes. It would be good to know that most animals on the earth are insects. That arachnids are spiders, ticks, mites, and scorpions. I would know some information about insects. Or you don't have to know it off the top of your head, but be able to find it in your book, because you will be able to use your book on your test. Which means you still need to have your book. So, so you should be able to at least be able to find facts on insects and spiders in your book. You need to know what an arachnid is, what a crustacean is. All right. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, this ends Miss Brown Presents Invertebrates. Have a good afternoon or a good day, and I wish you the best while you study for your test.